found that last year they did bring lunch with them. So, okay. We kind of started a little bit before the rest of it came, and we were just talking about last year presenting about what's so important to our bodies. We're talking about our bodies, not our minds, not our spirit, but what we really need for our bodies. And last year we talked about 6 different areas, the sunshine and all this exercise, it's good for our bodies. But we're zeroing in on food today. And we will get to that. And we were just talking about how your body, it continually tries to heal itself. And so I want to talk about that a little bit. I need 3 volunteers. And I'll probably just have you come and stand in front of this table, and I'll give you each a picture. You, one more. Thank you. Sorry.
I'm probably the frumpiest dumb.
No, you are perfectly fine. Okay, so, and turn your pictures around, and if you guys can see all right, maybe I should turn it. Yeah, there you go, so they can see also. So, we have, what is your picture?
Greens, salad.
Okay, and, okay.
Whole wheat bagel.
Now, my question to you is, which one of these foods would you say is the most nutritious for our bodies? The most nutritious as far as minerals and enzymes, which are basically proteins and vitamins. Which one would be the most nutritious? And just somebody share an answer. Or you guys? The salad. Tell she's been on green smoothies for a while. And why would that be? Do you have any idea?
There's a lot of nutrients in different colors of beans.
Okay, that is a very good reason. And there's another one. Can anyone think?
From the earth.
It is from the earth, right. Well, people would argue that, the whole wheat that comes from the earth, and cows, with the yogurt and stuff, or if you use something like almond milk or rice milk, that those come from the earth too, but that's good. Something else that these grains, these salads have, that these two do not anymore. They may have at one time. Come on in. Yeah. Welcome. All right. Okay. And maybe just over there. I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to. Okay. There we go. Anything else that you can think of? These salad grains are what? They have not been unprocessed in any way. Of course, we know to make yogurt, it comes from most generally milk. And if you know anything about dairy and milk, what have you learned about dairy that maybe isn't the most beneficial? What do people sometimes have problems with? Yes, lactose intolerance. Also, there's a protein in there called casein that is very hard for our bodies to use. So it's not just the sugar, the lactose, but also a protein in there that's hard for our bodies. And probably has a little bit of sweetener in it in the form of sugar. You can use other things, and the strawberries or whatever, raspberry, whatever they are, look, probably helpful. But we'll talk about combinations in a minute. And then what about the whole wheat bagel? Anything wrong with that?
Some people can't tolerate gluten.
Yes, that's been a big thing these days. Wheat or barley, rye, there's several of them that have the problem these days, the glucose, or I didn't mean to say glucose, but they have that ingredient that people cannot tolerate, and it causes that celiac disease, or at least that's what they're thinking. So gluten can be a big problem. It's a starchy thing, and it's sticky, and it can really bind things. And the wheat and those other crops are not as pure as they once were, say in biblical times, when we heard that they used those crops a lot. There are still some grains that are very, so to speak, pure. Do you know any of those other grains that are do not have gluten?
Rice.
Rice is a good one.
Yeah, oats.
Oatmeal, oat's good. Quinoa. And if you're not sure how quinoa looks, it does not start with a K, it's a Quinoa. But we've got organic quinoa at Walmart. It's in a box up in the rice section, so you can find it. There's another one that I really like, and that's millet. Millet is another good grain that you can use, and you don't have to worry about the gluten. Okay, so we have determined if you were just eating these three, even though they both all seem fairly nutritious, this would give you the fresh vitamins, minerals, enzymes. It has not been heated. Anytime you heat anything over, say 112, I think it is, you kill all the enzymes. So that's another very important thing to remember. Okay, you can just place your pictures over there, and thank you very much. And we need 3 more volunteers. And you can wait just a minute. I'm going to talk a little bit first. Our bodies go through different processes. What do we do with food that our body has to then do with it? Well, what's the first thing we do? We have a very good example right back there. She brought her lunch. What's she doing? Eating. She's ingesting. In a few hours, or maybe, well, within a few minutes, what is her body going to start doing? Digesting, right. And then later on, with that digested food, what will our bodies do with food that we've eaten? Absorb it, assimilate it, get those nutrients and those vitamins into the bloodstream. And then the last thing our body does is what else?
Excrete it.
Yes, elimination. Thank you for not being afraid. And our body continues those processes throughout the day pretty much. But there are certain times during the day that these 3 things, the ingestion and digestion, the assimilation, and the elimination, that occur in a 24-hour cycle. So from, say, noon to 8 o'clock at night, you're eating, you're taking in food, you're digesting, and all that good stuff. From 8 o'clock in the evening, or thereabouts, until about 4 a.m. in the morning, what is your body probably doing?
Recuperating.
What?
Resting and recuperating.
Yeah, yes, but also 8 o'clock to 4, it is resting, because most of the time we could be asleep by, 8 o'clock's a little early. But with that digested food, what is our body doing? What would be the next step in the process that we just talked about? Absorbing, assimilating those things. And then from about 4 a.m. to approximately noon, what does our body do? Eliminate. You think about in the morning, when you get up, what do you notice about your breath?
It's nasty.
Well, yeah, it rested, and then it starts getting rid of toxic waste and et cetera, et cetera. So we've got that elimination. We're headed to the bathroom. We're most likely, doing all that good stuff that we need to do to help our body get rid of those wastes. So when we say you are what you eat, that's not completely the whole picture. You are what you eat, what you digest, what you assimilate, and then how do you get rid of the toxic waste. If any part of that process is not working, or if the foods you're eating are not aiding that process, slowing it down in some way, then you're building toxic waste, inflammation in your body. And there are many people that truly believe that this inflammation is what causes many of our problems, our degenerative diseases, et cetera, et cetera. So let's look a little farther now. Let's talk about breakfast. Are you a big breakfast eater? And you don't have to answer that, but just thinking about it. We have always been taught that the first meal of the day is your main meal of the day. It should be so to get you going, get your energy going, so you can last throughout the day. I need 3 more volunteers. Thank you. And again, just standing in a row so everyone can see the pictures. And let's look at, we've got, what is that one?
Oatmeal, skim milk.
Okay, and bacon.
Bacon toast.
And